I am so excited. I am here in Denver, and the prototype Devil's Head vase is going to one of my favorite Blenko collectors, and I'm just so happy to be able to bring him so that we didn't have to ship him. Since it is a one of the kind, I was a little worried about those horns, but I'm driving through and he is going to go live in his forever home.
Added to my pictures now.
Such an amazing display, and yes, I love seeing that right in the middle of it. Oh, that's so fun. I think Bill is going to love this because you have it broken down by era. Yeah, so this is staff design up here. And then you get into, which direction is your Winslow?
The up top is Joel Philip Myers.
Joel Philip Myers, yep, that makes sense.
Then Winslow Anderson.
Winslow below, right, because there's the 920s and all that, and the fish and the pouch vase and all the great stuff, and the slump bottle. I love this story about the slump bottles. I haven't had one in a long time.
Yeah, how was a mistake?
Yes,
the 920
exactly.
just kind of fell over, and Winslow's like, oh.
And then it won like the Corning Great Glass of the Year award.
Well, we found them separately. We found him first, and then her next. We finally found a Hawaiian guy.
A lot of my collecting of this was one figure at a time. I had the harem girl. Yeah. I love her too. I found him before I found her, and then it took me forever to find her. Oh, was this for West Virginia Day?
West Virginia Day 2019.
Oh, neat. Oh, I haven't seen that one in the line.
I just loved it.
Yeah, I do too.
Because of course the iconic of the hand.
Oh, and there's your vineyard.
Yeah.
Ooh, and oh, look at the mushroom.
That's newer.
That's a neat piece, though. So exciting to see the Blenko's Devil Head go to a really great collection. We got to see some of that really great collection. Oh my gosh, I could have spent all day there looking at all of those beautiful pieces from so many different designers, and she had pieces all the way back from the 30s and 40s when they first started making it. It was just great. But now from here, there are no antique shops the way I'm heading, and by the time I get anywhere there are any, they will be closed. So we are going to do the archipelago of thrifting instead. This is our first and probably last chance Goodwill here on the edge of Denver near the International Airport, and then we are heading east. It looks like each town has one thrift store, so we're going to see what they're like. Apparently they were having some sort of issue with the fitting rooms. So now you have to buy the stuff and then bring it back if it doesn't fit. This is a newer Goodwill, so it's going to be divided up into sections and maybe a little more professionally merchandised. It seems like the newer ones, they really do this sort of a layout. It looks great. Now let's see if they have anything antique and vintage. We are in a part of town where everything is brand new. We're in an area where almost nobody lived until 5 years ago. So did they bring old stuff and leave it? Someone was into antiques because they've got the Antiques Roadshow primer here. That's actually a very good book for basic knowledge. Yvonne Thrifty Rich and I are tall, and she taught me to look at the tops of the rounders. Especially here in Colorado, they do tend to display a lot of things up high. Toys today appear new and in use.
Landon, come here.
Basketry, I don't see anything that looks real old. That's Chinese with the red, white, and blue on it. A wall of electronics. We do see an older radio here with AM and FM. This is a Sony out of the 70s with the simulated wood grain. It's $20. There might be room in that. Lots of planners. These have a deco look, but they're new. Not a whole lot of furniture, a lot of vacuums though. Well, let's see if we have any luck in the home goods. So far we haven't really found anything antique or vintage. These little boudoir lamps are older, and they've got their original plastic shades with the cutout lace over the top. These are from about 1960. Lots of generic glassware. This looks like a Garuda piece from Italy, and it is $4. PepsiCo. I think Bartlett Collins made these in the 70s and early 80s for them. Old aluminum cookware lid from the 30s. They are just unpacking the carts, which is nice, but nothing old in that one for me. Well, the displays are good. I just am not seeing a lot of old stuff. Now, this piece here, this terrain, may be older. It looks a little lightweight. Probably Japanese. Doesn't say, but that would be my guess. It's cute. Some blue willow, but I see chips. Let's see who did this little Roadrunner plate here. That's got at least some design. It looks a little like a mid-century shape, and it is on the back by Mana, and that's what I thought. Made expressly for gray moving and storage. But Mana is very interesting. Mana was the fellow who fought all the way up to the Supreme Court for the right for them to use peyote in their rituals. They lost, but Mana ceramics are actually very collectible because of his strange and interesting history. A good friend of mine just gave me a piece that I have in my collection now, so I'm going to definitely get this for only $1.99. According to Railware, that was pretty good. I just picked that up because it had the mid-century look and I had a hunch, and that was a nice hunch. Now this is Noritake, made in Japan, so it's 1930s, and it says U.S. design patent applied for. Nice red mark. It's a good factory. They made good quality wear. It's just not easy to sell these Noritake pieces with the small flowers and the gold rims right now. That's very Hollywood Regency 60s looking. It's also a little bent. Let's see what they have on this side of the aisle. These are 1960s Japanese redware, but they're not super easy to sell. Foxes are cute, but they're contemporary. Big old light shade from the 70s from a Gone with the Wind lamp of that era. And another Japanese terrain kind of shoved in sideways there. Campbell's soup stuff was definitely collectible in the 80s and 90s, and a lot of people bought it. In fact, even in the early 70s, you could mail order for the little mugs. A little bit of furniture up front, nothing I see that I really have to have or that is old. Let's check out the last few aisles here of housewares and see if we can find anything else. I'm pretty happy with finding a Mana piece right off the bat, though. Colorado thrift stores have a reputation as being good places to shop for antiques and vintage. Another cart that they're starting to empty out. I don't see anything I really need there. Let's see if there's anything older on these shelves. Lots of vases, glass and ceramic, but nothing that really looks like it's vintage of interest, although there is this giant Empoli snifter down here. Not the easiest color to sell, but that is a whole lot of glass for $9.99, and that definitely could be sold for a profit. It's just so big and my car's full enough, I don't know that I could get that home safely. If it was a stronger color, I would get it and take my chances. And it pays to look deep at this one. This one is well stocked. I see an interesting piece in the back here. It's this fish. Let's get this out of the way and see what this fish looks like. I think this one is made in Mexico. Purple color, crackled glass. Gently, we're going to set it on the floor. It's only marked at, I think, $5.99. It's a strange design with this pedestal to hold the front. It's not terribly well thought out, but it is interesting and it would probably sell. Looks like 1970s, probably Trissa glass out of Mexico. Drinkopoly, this seems like a very dangerous game, especially this one. I see Nine West, I see some purses in good condition, I see Anne Klein, but I don't see anything that's a Chanel or an Hermes that's worth a ton of money. And then, like some Goodwills have, they have a boutique, and it says it's trendy, not spendy, so let's see what is in here and what they consider trendy, and whether any of it might actually be vintage trendy. I see what they're doing here. They're setting up more vignettes. And then they're having fun, and it looks good, but so far I would say that these are pretty much all contemporary items in the boutique. Plastic Fantastic aisle. I don't see anything that is vintage. Someday this one. Not yet. And then over here we've got an old train clock. A lot of art and prints. They've got these, the display is good here, and it's nice because you can take it in pretty quickly. I'm not feeling like I have to thumb through all of this thinking there's something good behind it because they actually have it organized nicely. One pretty teapot here, but I think this is fairly new as well. It's transferware. I'm sure it's English. Yes, that has a Windsor name on the bottom. $6.99 is not a bad price, but that doesn't have a whole lot of age. Like sometime in the last 20 to 30 years. Well, definitely an auspicious beginning. I found something fun and cool and worth probably $25 or $30 in the very first thrift store. Be beautiful. Well, we're going to see if there's anything beautiful at the Prairie Family Center Twice as Nice thrift store. This is appended to their office and they help families in need in the area. We are in Burlington, Colorado. It's the last town before the Kansas state line. So the Fenton piece is pretty, Lily of the Valley. And there's a Lily piece for $50, which is a fair price. I like the 50s plastic shakers with the S&P on the top, because they usually advertising some interesting roadside attractions when they go. I want to see what those are. And let's see, these are like toys plastic, yes. Old cap gun holsters. Gun in the holster, $8. Plastic, this is from my era. Bunch of Tonka Betty L toys, also from my era. This one needs to have the Coke bottles on it to be worth anything. Betty Baker, $55 on the cookie jar. Cute 1930s clock. They've got some stuff here. So far, the stuff they have that's vintage is not inexpensive. I do like the cell. That's only $20. Cells aren't selling for a lot right now, but that's Lady in the Tramp at Cheyenne Wells. Dinnerware here is the Courier and Eyes by Royal China. $5 each on the ashtrays. In some ways, these are the most saleable pieces now. Well, they have more furniture than the Goodwill had. Camp kitchen. This is kind of cool looking because it's painted on there. It's just some sort of flimsy 1960s or 70s affair, but lots of drawers in there actually. I suppose you could use this for something, and $15. It's kind of got a look. Well, let's see, which teapot is the old one? Stop me when you see it. Oh, well, this one actually has some age here. This is a 1950s piece. I think it's actually a knockoff of a California pottery on a blank that is similar to Rio Stetson from the Midwest in the 50s. This is a Hall teapot, and it's got gold decoration. The old round bark is before 1969, and this actually is going to date to about 1940. There's a name for this shape that escapes me. It's one of their more traditional styles, but the color is good. And as long as this is just tape, which it looks like, and not a crack, $3 is pretty irresistible. Well, it was a crack, darn it. These are Sirocco, but they definitely have old stuff, and wow, these are only $1. These are from about 1940, classic ship bookends. A little bit of scuffing there. There is the Ornawood by Sirocco. Nice label, you know, for $1. How am I going to leave those? This might be a buy because it's a double. It's $10.50. It's John Perry. I really like the fact that it's a double. It looks like there's no brakes, just dusty. I think I can take that too. There is a very 70s rubber clamp on, $3.50 pencil sharpener, and I think that has to go with me too. There's actually a load of salt and peppers, and the gal working on the floor offered to take the stuff to the counter, which I really think is great. I don't expect that kind of service at a thrift store, so that was very nice of her. Little German fare of pheasants here. You can see the mark, $5.50. These ones are, oh, the petrified forest, yes. I did not enjoy the petrified forest when I went there. There's a long story to that I'll have to tell sometime. At one time, Falscraft was so popular that they could even do play sets, and the idea with the play set was that then when your daughter grew up, she'd want your Yorktown and add to it. That is probably the age of the people who are collecting it now. $50 for the play set they want. Made by Ohio Art, that's the company that became the most famous for the Etch-a-Sketch. Look, because it's baseball season and playoffs are coming soon, and see who this is. Clyde McCullough, yeah. One of the kids on our team had this, that it was his dad's old thing because it was a J.C. Higgins back when that was Sears brand before Ted Williams' name replaced it, interestingly enough. This catcher's mitt is probably $60s, $30 though, and it belonged to Ed, apparently. Books, games, reading cards. Here's a Hugh back there. Elvis in Memphis. The McCoy vase, let's see. The stuff they identify, they kind of want money for. $15.50 isn't terrible for that, actually. It's almost wholesale. So like a lot of small thrift stores, the stuff they could identify, they priced fairly high, often above wholesale, sometimes even above retail. But then there were other things that were great deals, and I ended up with 3 items. So that's pretty good for me for a thrift store. And I have to say, Colorado, as usual, came through with the thrift stores today. So on to Kansas, and let's see what we can get while they're still open. Well, isn't this early 1920s gas station a cute thing? Apparently somebody here really likes the gas and oil stuff. I'll bet that barn is full of cool things. Well, Goodland is apparently known for the world's largest easel, and who am I to contradict that? Look at this amazing piece of architecture. This circa 1930 high-style Art Deco Western influenced, Native American influenced building was the Telephone Building and is now the Sherman County Museum in Goodland, Kansas. And across the street from it are the churches banding together to form one thrift shop. Let's see what they have. I have found things in this town at estate sales before, believe it or not. So I have this funny feeling that maybe there'll be something in here. Ancient are similar to the Corel blue cornflower. These came with the Amana Radar Range microwave, and they sell for about the same as the cornflower blue does now. I've been on an Afghan kick lately, but you've got to make sure they don't have fraying. Oh, they got the word about people liking brassium. This is a fun display on the landing to the second floor. And here we are on the second floor. It looks like, well, a lot of clothes. And a toy section, the old carom board. Looks like the only old toy in here. I look for records as much for the graphics on the covers as anything else. So if I see something I think looks interesting and obscure, sometimes that'll make me buy it. These look like they're top 40. Red Rubber Ball was a good hit at the time. But this guy here, I wish the albums were in here, because this is Spike Jones, one of my favorite humorists from the Second World War era. There's a sentiment that makes sense to me. Here's a couple of these big old green 1980s Anchor Hocking vases again. These were not quite as deco styled as some of the more popular ones with people collecting now. And then, of course, the Corning in the Daisy. Well, they have a boudoir section, and I like this little tray, the gold, because it's nice and small for $4, and it hangs, so I think that might be a buy. This feather hat could be cool. Let's see what condition it's in. Ooh, close to shedding? Shedding or not shedding? Oh, the top is where it's shed. Darn, well, so much for that. This one back here has a bow, which is a little bit odd. Definitely a cute display, though. Bottles over here, a somewhat older, although plastic and no key, 1970s gumball machine, $15 if you could get it rekeyed. And then in here, there's some cool old cameras. Let's see what they want for these. Yeah, $30 on that. I mean, it is a twin lens Brownie reflex, but it is just a Brownie. $15 for this, missing the base. Yeah, these prices are a little rich for me, I'm afraid. On the other hand, we have the Berwin Junior Executive Typewriter. Wow. These are $25 each. Most toy typewriters don't sell for a lot, but I like that it has the original box. Let's see what it looks like. Well, it looks kind of Junior Executive in a sort of fussy way that Grandma and Grandpa Schindler would have liked. I'm going to do them a favor and take that off, because obviously they want more than $1, and that's just going to turn off the next person. But I'm going to take this because the box is better, and I've seen what this one looks like. It's clean and has everything. So something interesting in a thrift store. I haven't seen this particular typewriter before. That's a very cute vase with portrait for $10 from about 1910. ESU. I believe this is Colorado State. Interesting that it's an anvil. And because it's only $3, I think I have to have that because it's an anvil. Lots of silver plate, and certainly some of this is a little older, but not anything I can see that would be of interest to me. I do like the napkin holder in the aluminum from the 30s for $5. This is Kutani, but this is later 1970s or 80s because you can see how bright and how it's all transferware. It's not going to be a valuable piece. Cute little owl here, but I think it used to have something with it. Well, you certainly can do it all night, as the very loud music behind me is saying. And if there's one thing I would like to have you do tonight, if you haven't, it is please subscribe. We have more than half of our people who watch not subscribed, and we'd really like to be able to communicate with you and have you be a bigger part of this antique and vintage community. So please subscribe, doesn't cost a thing. They do have other vintage things here. They may not be my things, or there may be issues with them. This is missing its clacker. It has a nice little gold spray on it. Some of these are signed, but they're 80s. This is part of a 60s set, but it needs more pieces. And this is like everything in my aunt's house in 1973. A bunch of smalls in this case too. This place does have stuff. So far, every thrift store on this route has had something. Pressed glass perfumes, not a bad price at $8 each. They have a nice look. They're not as fine as cut glass or etched, but you know, if you see them from a distance, they look good. Horse figures, $5 on that one. And then the Hear No Evil, See No Evil, Speak No Evil monkeys. One more row of housewares here that I almost missed. There's a little goofy piece there with that cute little foot from about 1960, but it's the sherbet, and not too many people eat sherbets these days that way because people want bigger ice cream than that. Royal Dalton plate here. Nicely done. I mean, very English, looked great in a Welsh dresser, but that's not something a lot of people do these days. A piece of orchid, Heisey orchid, $4. I would have been so excited to find this back when people were collecting this, and someday they will again. This would have been a $25 piece back in the day. It's still worth buying at $4, but honestly, because there's only one, I'm going to leave it. Times change. This, if the iridescence isn't too worn, is from the 70s, and these do sell. That's $10. Purple down here, but this is not an old piece. There's a little bit of pink depression. I don't see, oh, wait a second. Let's see who this guy is. King Kamehameha. Hawaiian Conqueror. Well, yes, not the best likeness, though. Boy, poor Hawaii with the burning in Lahaina. That was such a great town. I'll remember it fondly. Well, I got something interesting in the thrift shop. Every thrift shop has had something, and I'm actually really happy with what I'm finding. So this has been a good trip so far. You know, it's good to stop every couple of hours, and I'm in a part of the country where there's about this size town every couple of hours. Well, around the corner is Eclectic Emporium, and it looks like a lot of fun, but they are not open on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. I mean, you know, when you're a sole proprietor, you got to take a day off somewhere, and I see some fun travel cases from the 70s. Well, I'll just have to know this is here. You can't buy a new Mercury nowadays, but if you need parts for your old one, or you just want to get one going again, well, you know, rusty cars last a really long time in these dry climates, and that's why a lot of people come here looking for parts later on. This Mercury seems to be almost intact from the early 50s. Yes, it's a 1950s junkyard before your eyes. Unfortunately, so many of these places in little towns don't understand what it's like for people like me driving long distances to get here at 4:15 and have the antique mall closing early. This place is closed. I mean, it's summer. In the middle of winter, no one's coming here. So when are they going to do their business? This one is about to close, and I am peering in. I see some Corning, and that's about it. So, well, we did the archipelago. We'll have to get back to this Goodwill in Hays, Kansas soon, and there's an antique mall on the other side of the freeway that I've been to before, so maybe we'll make that our next video when we're heading through this way. In the meanwhile, have fun, and if you enjoyed this video, check out this one. Also, click thumbs up to like this video, and check the description for information about our Patreon, our memberships. We've got a lot of different levels with different perks and bonus videos and early content. Also, please do check out our website, theantiquenomad.com, for appraisal help, and we'll see you again for more adventures in the antique and vintage community soon. Bye for now.